Well, good afternoon. This is Micah Young with the Micah Young Podcast, brought to you by Learning Christ Ministries. We want to thank you for watching and listening. We're just so blessed every time you participate, or if you send us a note, or just let us know you're watching. Thank you so much for doing that. And if you like it, just click on like. And if you subscribe, then every time there's a new one that comes out, you'll get a notification that there's a new one out. But we're just so grateful that you're involved and interested in what we're sharing. I'm very honored to have a very dear friend of mine here with us today. This is Holly, and we've known each other 20-something years, and her and her husband, Tim, and we've been friends and hang out together and just enjoy the Lord together. And God has done just such an awesome work in her heart in the last few years. And she was one of the ones, when we first started doing this, that I thought, I really want to get her to share that. So, Holly, if you'll just tell us a little bit about yourself and then just kind of share with us, I guess you've been a part of my life for what, 21 years, something like that?
So when you say it that way, now I know how old I am.
Okay, well, we won't go there.
No, it's okay. No, it's just I had the privilege of getting to know you from the first year Tim and I were married, and
Wow.
so we started attending the church that you and Joni were at, and then I immediately knew there was something different there. And I was so hungry for it.
I remember that.
I could not get enough of it.
Yeah.
And so I had the ability to stay at home with our three girls. They are now 19, 18, and 16, which is crazy.
Yeah.
And
Going away to college.
I know, right?
That's
it's
wild.
We're so excited for them. And then I get to help run a small business with my husband, and it's wonderful.
Good.
And just love on people.
Good.
Yeah.
Well, that's one of the things that impressed me early on was, I don't know how long you had known the Lord when we met, but I know that I recognized a hunger for the Lord there. And you had lots of questions and, lots of wonderment about you, which I love that. That we never get God all figured out. There's always that sense of wonder.
Mm-hmm.
And so what would you say over the last so many years the Lord has really zeroed in on in your life? What's been a key element of what he's been doing with you?
No, so I think for my story, I want to start with when I came and started visiting with you and you started sharing things. It was about getting to that secret place, that quiet place. And so I quickly was able to identify in myself the difference. The church we had gone to prior to that was wonderful and it was amazing. And it was a great foundation, great foundation. But I noticed quickly my relationship with the Lord was very different than what you were speaking of. And I definitely wanted what you were speaking of. It was like you had an insight, I can't even put it into words. It was undescribable. And so immediately I just started putting into practice everything you started saying. But I was consistent with it. Yeah. And I think that is the key that he showed me. And one of my other friends shared with me is it takes practice. Mm-hmm. And I wanted to hear his voice. I wanted to get quiet. I wanted to know him. Because I knew some scripture, but I wanted to know what he said to me about that scripture. And then once you start hearing it, and once you start getting there, you don't want to leave it.
Yeah, that's right.
And so you look forward to it, but then you also, what I've learned these last 20 years, is I can tell when my flesh has not been there consistently days. So that's a whole nother subject.
I get that completely. I've had a really good last couple of weeks, but I had this day Monday that was it was horrible. And I sat down with the Lord either that night or the next day, and he didn't say this is your problem. but he just let me see, and I realized I didn't have
Yes.
as much of him as I needed. You know, I just needed more of him because of the way I handle things, and he just revealed there's more to be had.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, exactly. And so I know I'll never reach the end of it, right, until we get to eternity.
That's right.
But my heart is to get better at these things. Not better, I shouldn't say, that's not the right word, but just more consistent.
Sure.
And so that would be the first thing, and that's it's an ongoing process, is growing and hearing those things in the quiet place, in your personal time with the Lord. And I know you've shared about that in previous podcasts, and it's wonderful. And go through those podcasts over and over again. If you haven't listened to them, I would recommend just listening to them, taking notes, and then putting it into practice. Because you gave the beautiful illustration one time to us about the Lord just going to sit in his presence. And even if you don't hear anything, just sitting there enjoying his presence, like a parent would if a child came and sat on their lap.
Yeah.
And now having children of my own, I miss that. I miss when they were teeny tiny and they would come sit on my lap. They didn't have to say a word. They didn't have to do anything.
Even go to sleep.
Yes. Anyway, so that would be the first thing that has changed for me in the last 20 years that we've known each other. And then the second thing the Lord showed me, I asked the question in that time with him was why I was created. So when he tells you why you were created, it's life-changing.
Yes.
And then the second question is, Lord, why do you love me? Or how much do you love me?
Yeah.
I knew what my pastors had told me. I knew what my teachers had told me. I even knew what scripture tells me. And it's all true, right? That's all true. When the creator of the universe gave it to me, it was life-changing. First off, it was consistent with what the word said, right? Which was okay.
That's good.
It was wonderful. But from then on, I remember I was 23 years old, and I was dealing with all these insecurities and all these doubts and all these different things. But when I heard him tell me that, it didn't matter what anybody else said or any other situation that happened. And that has been one of the biggest things that I could always go back to. These last, 18 or 17 years that I've heard that. Because things are hard. You go through your peaks and your valleys, right?
Yeah, that's right.
And knowing that and knowing where I could go back and hear that again is worth far more than any money or anything I could ever have. So those are the two things that he showed me. And the last thing is something I really wanted us to discuss and talk about tonight is I am getting freedom in the subject of expectations. I'm not there yet, so I haven't reached it. But it is that freedom.
Yeah.
And that.
And how does that play out? What does that say in relationships? How does that actually play out?
Well, I think you need to go back to what the definition of expectation is. Okay. So I was asking the Lord about this. I said, then he referred to me that. So it says, Webster defines it as a strong belief that something will happen or be the case in the future. Okay, so that's what Webster said it would.
Expectation, okay.
Okay. Now what the Lord, I felt like he shared with me as well, is, I don't want to mess this up. May my opinions, my judgments, may my flesh, my emotions, all of these things not be in the way of the way I respond to things.
Can see that.
Wow.
Yeah.
Because you don't even I don't want to say you.
No,
I
you're
did
right.
not even realize subconsciously. First off, you don't even know subconsciously what you
Right.
have
You
until
don't
he
know what you
reveals
don't
that.
know. Yeah.
Right. But consciously, once you start thinking through things, dealing with, okay, myself. First off, I'm a people pleaser. And that's hard, or you want to do it to perfection, and when you know you can't do it to perfection, then why do you even try? And so those are items I've had to work through. Still working through, honestly.
Yeah.
Stuff dealing with church.
Yeah.
Expectations are huge, right? Attending whatever church you go to. And then I think, honestly, for me, I had to deal with expectations with religion versus relationship. That's a huge one. I'm still in the process of all of these, right? Still learning this. I've had to work through, and I'm still working through, sometimes when you're in relationship with people in the church and you feel like, oh man, we're learning the same things and we should be at the same point. No, everybody's on their same journey.
Right.
But that expectation, I was just so naive to so many things. I'm learning through all of that. And then with my husband.
Yeah.
With my kids. And work. I mean, everything. You don't realize, I haven't realized how much this truly plays out. And the way that I react, I have been reacting, but my hope is to do better in responding. So that's kind of what I wanted to visit with you about mostly, and what he's revealing to me.
I think that's, you think, you have to have expectations. Well, but the truth of the matter is, does your trust of the Father outweigh your expectations?
That's exactly what he talks to me about.
Do I trust you enough not to put my expectation on it? And do I trust you enough that whatever happens in this situation, you're going to work it to my benefit and ultimately your glory? Can I rest in that? Or do I have to stick my expectation on it of the way people should act or the way circumstances could be? So it really does go back to just trusting the Father, that he cares enough for us to give us what we really need, even though it's not what we expected or what we were expecting to happen.
Exactly. Yes. When I started realizing and working through this process concerning something, and the Lord brought it to my attention, gosh, I had to ask him for forgiveness. It was horrible because it was yuckiness. And you have your opinions about how you think the situation occurred, and then your judgment, and then you have all the reasons why it affirms why these things should be happening, or why this should happen. Right. It's just anyway. But I love this because this is my heart. It's Philippians 1:20. And it says, I eagerly expect and hope that I will in no way be ashamed, but will have significant courage, so that now, as always, Christ will be exalted in my body, whether by life or by death. And I can read it again if you want me to. But for me, it goes back to what you just said. I want him to be glorified regardless of what happens.
Yeah.
And all of those things we spoke about, I want him to be glorified in the way I respond to people. I want him to be glorified in church. I want him to be glorified in relationships in church. I want him to be all relationships, right? But what I'm battling with this topic is myself.
Yeah.
And so, golly, it's been just a big aha moment. And getting freedom from that.
That's great.
It really is life-changing.
Yeah, that's good. If I think about this the other day, if my life was to be lived out according to all of my expectations between being realized, what a small, shallow life that would be compared to what the Father has for me.
I know for a fact I would not be where I was today.
That's correct. None of us would. None of us would.
But here's the deal. If I would have thought 25 years ago or 28 years ago and made it would have played out what I expected it or my goals or my life, I had no idea what it would have really happened.
Yeah.
I would have missed out on so much.
Oh yeah, we all would have. We forget how finite we are,
and I'm
how
so thankful for
yeah,
that.
Yeah, that's
And
good.
I just, but here's now is like, okay, Lord, now that I know these things, I want to live in this continuously.
Yeah.
And how quickly do I revert back?
Yeah, very easily to do that.
Yes. To, I don't even realize certain things, or because of, I don't even know how to say it, but I just want to make sure I'm living in this.
Yeah.
But it's so much of me having to be there and ask the Lord, I just want to cooperate with you.
And He's so gracious that even in that, He's just saying, I just wanted you to see you still need me.
Oh.
You hadn't got it all figured out yet. And He's not shocked by it.
No.
He's not surprised. He knows it.
No.
He just wants us to know it.
Right. And I mean, and it speaks about that here in Romans, actually. You talked about that. It says, what is it? Romans 8:19. It talks about, for the creation was in eager expectation. Hold on, sorry. Okay. For the creation waits in eager expectation for the children of God to be revealed. For the creation was subjected for frustration, not by its own choice, but by the will of the one who subjected, in hope that in creation itself would be liberated from its bondage to decay and brought into the freedom and glory of the children of God. So we eagerly await, right? Basically to be in eternity.
Yeah. To be
We
real.
long there. And so, and I've come to you one time with this subject. Can you help me understand why this person is doing this and I'm feeling this way? And basically, it was so profound what you shared for me, and I call it a light bulb moment. But that's what you shared. I mean, you directed me back to that scripture. We're all going to let each other down.
Oh yeah.
Until we get it into eternity, until we are made whole again, right? And it doesn't hurt, take away the hurt when people let you down or situations. I mean, there's still that, right?
Yeah.
But it helps.
Yeah. Well, I was thinking this week, because of a lot of the things we've been through and, with the church and everything, is there comes a point where I just have to learn to live with the things that you've disappointed me in.
Mm.
And you have to learn to live with the things I've disappointed you in. And that's just relationship.
Do you think that goes hand in hand with forgiveness?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yes.
Yeah. I've got to be willing to just say, you know what? It is what it is. They're flawed. I'm flawed. We're flawed. We're all forgiven. And if I realized how much I was forgiven of,
Yes.
I wouldn't hold this against anybody. Yeah.
No, and for me, I am learning the relationship means more to me
Absolutely.
than anything else.
Absolutely.
I don't care if I'm right. I don't care if I'm wrong. I don't care. I just want us to be in good standing,
Yes.
so that at the end of the day, we can encourage each other. We can love each other.
Yeah. Whether we agree or not.
Yes, we can pray with one another and then go out and further the kingdom.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. And that's one of the things, I think a good distinction between expectancy and expectations. I think expectations,
Yes.
we define expectations. Expectancy is, I'm expecting God to do something, but I have no idea what it's going to be, but it's going to be good. But expectation says, I'm expecting you to do this, God, and do it this way and make it work out this way. And God's not obligated to fulfill our expectations.
No.
But we can live in a sense of expectancy because He is so awesome and because He loves us and cares for us so much. He's going to be true to His nature.
Okay, so the Lord, I asked Him that. I said, what's an expectancy, basically, I can have from you? He showed me eternity. Like, right, it's in the Word. Like, He shares that with me.
Yeah.
I know that when I surrendered my life to Him, I know when I die, I know where I'm going.
Yeah.
Right? I know that. I know, and He shared with me this, and I wanted to share this with you too. Okay. Then we started talking, and I think this goes hand in hand. Tell me what you think. About belief. And so I said, because there's been some things I've been dealing with about believing. And he said, one's belief in one is something that is indescribable. Belief is an unfailing trust, like faith that I am who I say I am, regardless of your expectation. And so that is one thing I'm learning how to get is, okay, let me think through this. How am I going to say this? Well, basically, is this an expectation or an expectancy? Am I believing these are prior judgments or an opinion or things I have come up with myself that I've placed on the Lord? Or is this something that I know that He Himself is, or something that's in the Word? Am I correct with that?
Yeah. And a lot of times what we do is we look at what He did in the past, and then we expect Him to do that again.
Oh, yes.
When in reality, He's not locked into that. But I can expect Him to do something.
Meaning, but I can trust that He is going to stay the same who He is. So you have to know who He is.
That's right.
And that's one thing.
Trust His character.
Exactly. But you have to know His character.
Right.
Who is He?
Yeah.
And I'm still learning that.
It's a lifetime journey. That's
He's
great.
still learning who He is.
That's good. Well, Holly, thank you so much for sharing with us. This has been good, been rich, and I have been just blessed to watch God do what He's done in your life, and I'm glad I got to be a part of it and look forward to what He's got for us in the future.
Yes, yes. And I just wish you the best. And I just pray just blessings over you and Joni and your family. And
Thank you.
yeah.
Thank you guys for watching. Appreciate you, and look forward to seeing you next time.